Hi everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a subject which I'm definitely not proud of, and that is that I was overweight for about 2.5 to 3 years, which you probably can't tell anymore right now, but I was overweight for quite a while. So this is going to be another behind the story or behind the camera kind of story. Today I'm going to share with you how it was to be overweight, how I became overweight, what the reasons were for that, and how I got out of it. And the reason why I want to share this story with you is because I know that there are a lot of people who go through a similar thing. You keep eating and you find comfort in eating and you don't really know why you do it. Like, obviously you have the reason when you like food a lot, and that's the reason why you consume a lot of it. But you also have the other side of the story, which is most of the time that people eat to comfort themselves, to get rid of certain emotions that you don't want to deal with. And that's the thing that I'm going to talk about today. So to create a picture, in 2004, as some of you might know, is that my dad died. And when he died, my whole world collapsed. You can probably imagine that if you are raised by a single parent and you probably have like a handful of other family members that you're not very close with, that if that person is gone, that your whole world falls apart. So that's what happened in 2004 when I was 16. He died, and I got to live with foster parents, which were friends of my dad, but I couldn't get along with them very well. Nowadays I can, because I don't rely on them anymore, but back then I relied on them, and I had 2 small children of 1 and 3 years old, and here I was as a teenager, 16 years old, just lost my dad. So that's the scenery where it got started. Or at least it started, I would say, when I was a lot younger. That's where the basis of my eating disorder was created. But that was the big emotional roller coaster that I was in when I was around 16. So basically what happened is I graduated high school. I felt very depressed because I lost my dad, and my dad was my entire life, my entire world, I would even say, because I totally lost track of who I was as a person. The reason for that is because my dad was ill, so I always had to take care of him, and I loved doing that, but in the process of doing that, I totally lost myself. So when I was 18, I was at the legal age that my foster parents didn't have anything to say about me anymore, basically. So I moved out as fast as I could. And I lived by myself, and I moved around quite a bit in my hometown in the Netherlands, Haarlem, where I used to live. And I moved around for quite a bit because I was looking for myself, and I wasn't able to find myself. But in that process, I basically developed my eating disorder, which was like obesity. I used to eat and eat and eat and eat. Right now I weigh 56 kilograms, or that is around 125 pounds, if I'm not mistaken, which is not very heavy. But I used to be like 2.5 the size of what I am nowadays. So here's the thing. When I was 18, when I graduated from high school, I didn't have a job. I didn't do anything. I just wanted to focus on myself for 1 year, from when I was 18 to 19. And I just wanted to figure out who I was, what I wanted to do, what my purpose is on this planet in general. Like, I really lost track of myself, and I had no clue who I was, what I wanted to do, what I wanted to become. Nothing whatsoever. So because of that, and because of the fact that I was grieving, or I guess that's how you say it, I felt really, really sad, obviously, about the fact that my dad died, and I couldn't let go of it. It was like 2 years ago back then, when I was 18, that my dad died. So what did I started doing? I started eating. So what I did is I would go to the McDonald's every night, and I would eat like 3 large portions of fries with the sauce that comes with it, and I used to eat like 3 hamburgers, and during the day I wouldn't eat anything else except for chocolate. And then I'm not talking about a little bit of chocolate, but I'm talking about heaps and heaps of chocolate. And obviously I'm not very proud of the fact that I had this, but I kind of accepted it, and I learned how to move on, because I discovered obviously the deeper problem and the deeper layers of it. So after I figured that out, I lost weight, I got into another eating disorder. I suffered from bulimia, so I would throw up every time, because it took quite a turn. Like, obviously after I lost weight, I realized that I never wanted to become that big again. And it turned into another eating disorder, which is another story, which I will talk about a little bit later on. But yeah, to come back to when I was 18, I had this chocolate addiction, and I felt really depressed. I definitely was no angel, I can tell you that. I did quite a lot of things which I'm not proud of, which I'm not going to say, but I was in a very deep hole. I went with my face through the dirt and back. It was horrible. So imagine, like, you're 18 years old, you wake up, first thing that you eat is chocolate. Milk chocolate, you know, the Kinder packages that you have, like those little bars, and the Kinder eggs with the surprise in it that are not legal in the US anymore, I think. Those things. That's what I would eat day in, day out. No jokes. That's all I would eat at McDonald's at night, which is obviously way more than I should have eaten, because nowadays I can't eat 3 hamburgers and 3 large portions of fries. So I was in my having my chocolate addiction, and I think after 4 to 5 months, when I became really big and I was growing out of my clothes and I had to spend more money to buy bigger clothes, I was like, there has to be a way out of this, because I don't want to continue being like this for the rest of my life. Like, if you're comfortable with yourself, then yeah, but I was obviously pushing away a lot of emotions that I had to work on sooner or later. So from 4 to 5 months, when I was in my chocolate addiction and going to the McDonald's like at least 4 times a week, I was like, where is this coming from? And obviously, right, like, my dad died. I was with my foster parents that I couldn't get along with from when I was 16 to 18. So obviously you go through an emotional roller coaster, and that's where it came from. But the bigger reason, the deeper layer, that's what I couldn't find. And eventually it took me about 4 to 5 months, I would say, when I was 18, to realize that I have to dig deeper to find who I really am, and really make the decision for yourself that you don't want to continue like that. And it's not just saying to yourself like, oh, I'm so stupid, I shouldn't be doing this. No, it's really like, okay, I can see it in my entire body. I don't feel good. My confidence went down. I felt really bad about myself. I felt bad about the situation that I was in. I felt like a victim of the fact that my dad was taken away from me. And on top of that, I had no clue who I was and what I wanted to do. So what I started doing, the first step that I was doing, is I started an online course in the Netherlands, where I used to live. And through that course, I learned a lot about food. It was a dietitian course that you can do online, and you can also do the exam, which I never did, but you can do the exam and you can get your diploma because of it. But that's not what I did it for. I was like, okay, if I want to get out of this, I have to go back to, how do you say that? You have to go back to the beginning of the story and see what happened, because with every action you have reactions, and my reaction was an eating disorder, which you could see from the outside, but obviously there was a lot more going on in here. So I started doing this course about like learning everything about food and stuff like that, which really helped me. So I started doing all these assignments, and I understood a lot more about calories and like food that's good for you and food that's not good for you. And obviously I already knew that chocolate and McDonald's isn't good for you, but I needed that extra push to get myself over that boundary of breaking out of it. So I did this course, and it taught me a lot. And while I did that course, I also went to a dietitian, and she was like, what are you doing here? Because it's like you're a dietitian yourself. You know all the facts, you know everything about calories and how it works and how it affects your body. Like if you eat certain foods, what it does with you and stuff like that. So I was like, well, the reason why I'm here is because I need some sort of consistency. I need someone to check up on me, because apparently I'm not consistent enough to do that myself. I'm pretty good at learning things myself, like without a teacher telling me like, oh, you have to do this. But when it comes down to consistency, I wasn't very, well, I wasn't able to do that. So that's the reason why, along with the course that I did, I went to the dietitian for about a year, I would say. So, yeah, that's basically what I did. Once I realized that I wanted to get out of this, I went, go ahead and do that course. I went to the dietitian, and then obviously that wasn't enough, because there was a lot of other stuff that I needed to think about. So I started writing. I started writing down, like, why did I lose myself? Where did it came from? Because I lost myself, what were the consequences of that, such as an eating disorder, being depressed, feeling misplaced, feeling like you don't have the right to exist, the fact that you completely lost yourself. So I started writing, and I did a lot of thinking, and I analyzed my life like no other. I went back all the way to the beginning, from when I was 4 years old, that my mother abused me and that she literally threw me on the street, or put me on the street with all my stuff. And that's where it started. That's when I realized, like, I never had enough confirmation that I'm good enough. And personally, from what I've noticed in the Netherlands, with all the media exposure and the things that you see outside, like everyone looks so beautiful. They're all very slim. Health gets promoted like no other in the Netherlands, from my experiences. And I felt like I didn't fit in. And then I thought about elementary school, and then I realized that I was always bullied. Like, people would always call me names because of my nose, for example, or because of my broad shoulders. I was never good enough. And I never got that confirmation from anyone else, except for my dad, obviously. But that apparently wasn't enough, because I also had to take care of him. So I never got the chance to express myself and who I was and what I wanted to do, because there was always this pressure, despite the fact that my dad never put that pressure on me, but I felt it like my responsibility that I would take care of my dad. And since he was ill, he had diabetes, which turned into a lot of other things. I had to take care of him, and that's how I felt like. So if you take that whole mess, all those things together, the fact that my mother abused me, the fact that I got bullied for so many years that I wasn't good enough, the fact that my dad died when I was 16, which felt like he left me alone. All those things together caused the fact that I didn't know who I was and what I wanted to become and what I wanted to do, how I wanted to look like. So I totally lost my identity. And because the depression came on top of it, I started to look for comfort in food, because food, as a lot of you probably know, is that chocolate makes something, does something with your body that makes you feel happy, but that's obviously short term. So if you continue eating chocolate or bad food in general for a longer period of time, it will evolve into you becoming overweight, and then it becomes really difficult to get out of it, because now you have to dig through this entire layer of, I don't want to say it, but an entire layer of stuff, of negative stuff, to get back to the origins and the base and the foundation of your problem. So that's what I had to do, and it took me quite a few years, I have to say. I got rid of my eating disorder a lot earlier than I got rid of all those problems and that I found myself again. But what I can tell you, and that's probably the main reason why I'm making this video today, is that if you're overweight and you know deep down in your heart that you try to push something aside that you should be working on, you can get out of it. You really can. But you have to keep in mind that you want to do it bad enough. It doesn't matter how scared you are, how sad you are, how angry you are. You're worth it. You're worth it to get out of it. And you really have to realize that. And you have to try, if you really want to get out of it, try as many methods as possible. And then I'm not talking about diet pills, like different kinds of diets that you can follow. No, just look at yourself and be honest. And tell yourself, like, okay, or ask yourself rather, like, what is the problem? Why do I keep hiding myself behind food? What is it that makes me want to eat so badly? And if you don't know the answer to it, other than the fact that it might be possible you really enjoy food, try to write it down and try to dig deeper and deeper. Go through each single layer, and I know that this is a horrible process. I'm not going to lie about it. It was really tough. It was painful. You fall flat on your face and you just have to decide, like, you know what? I'm going to try it again until you're there, until you reach that point that you can break out of it and that you can really feel in your entire body that you want to get out of it. I felt like a victim. When my dad died, and the fact that my mother just put me on the street with all my stuff, and the fact that I always had to take care of my dad and that I got bullied, I felt like a victim of life. I was like, I'm not living life, but I'm getting lived by life. Life is living me, and that's not how it's supposed to be. And one of the consequences because of that was that I wasn't on the wheel. I wasn't deciding if we're going left or right. I just let it happen to me. And every factor from outside that would influence me would have a bigger impact on me. Like, I would feel more insecure. I would feel more angry. I would feel like I didn't have the right to exist. Like, everything from outside had such a big influence on me because I wasn't stable. And obviously I wasn't stable, which makes perfect sense because I had to go, because I went through all those things. But for me, personally, that wasn't an excuse on the long term to stay like that. It was just not an excuse. It wasn't a good enough excuse. And the reason why is because I didn't want to get lived by the past of my dad or his stories or what happened to my mother, because there was a reason why she abused me, which is totally not my deal, but I got lived by it. It influenced me constantly. And when I was in that eating disorder of getting way too heavy because I was eating all this chocolate, I had to let go of that. I had to filter out, like, okay, this is part of my life. This is who I am. This is who I want to be and what I want to become. And this is who I was. And who I was, a big part of that was influenced by my parents, by the things that they did have in my life. So I hope that I'm making sense here. I totally didn't prepare this video, so I'm very sorry if I'm just rambling on. But most of the time I discovered that when I just talk freely, if something pops in my head, that it works the best. So I want you to know that if you're struggling with things from your past that you're ashamed of, that you can't do anything about, or maybe even things that you're ashamed of, and you could have done something about it back then, but right now could have, would have, doesn't make any sense anymore. It's not going to change anything. You have to decide for yourself if you want to move on, to let go of that. And a great method to do that is to write things down and to talk about it with your close friends. If you don't have a lot of close friends like I had no one to share this with, I just shared it with myself. And I actually made a video diary about it. I don't have those videos anymore because otherwise I would definitely share them with you, but I was so depressed. And when I looked at it later, once I started to get out of it, everything started to make sense. And that's the reason why it's good to write things down or to record it on audio even, so that you can listen to it and that things start to make sense in your head. Things fall into place and then you discover like, oh, that's why I did that. So try to look for the action, the actual thing that happened. So in my case, for example, my dad died, my mother abused me, foster parents that couldn't get along with me, or I couldn't get along with them rather, being bullied. All those things together are actions, or not actions, that's not the good word. Those are things that happened, experiences. And those experiences get split up by things that do something to you. So you have action, reaction, basically. So all those actions, and a reaction was that I got my eating disorder. So in order to break that reaction, you have to go back to the action, see what caused it, try to analyze it and try to get out of it, and try to let go of it. It's possible to let go of it, but it's a hard road, but I can tell you that it's definitely worth it. I learned over time, despite the fact that I'm only 26, that the things that you want the most in life, you have to work the hardest for, in most cases. For me, that was definitely the case with a lot of things, as well as with my eating disorder. So eventually I went through my eating disorder. I did that course. I never finished the course. I went through the dietitian for quite a long time. And eventually, together with all the writing and stuff like that, I was able to let go of it. So once I let go of it, let me tell you just a little bit about it. It turned into something else, which I already made a video about, is how I got out of my eating disorder. And that was once I felt how good it felt to be slim and how much more energy I have and stuff like that, and how it would benefit my feet because I have very flat feet, and the less I weigh, the better it is because my feet don't hurt so much in the summer while walking in warm temperatures and stuff. I realized that I never wanted to go back. I had the feeling that I won for myself. It was like I'm battling against myself, and all of a sudden that little voice in my head won. But at the same time, I became my own victim of the fact that I didn't want it to become big again. So it turned around, and I know exactly when it turned around. It was Queen's Day in the Netherlands, and I had a party with a lot of people, and I ate way too much that night, and I felt nauseous. So I went to the bathroom. Everything came out because I was too nauseous. I drank too much. I ate too much. So everything came out, and I was like, "Oh, this feels really good. This feels like such a relief." And for some reason in my brain, it was like, "Click. That's how you can get rid of it." And that's obviously not good. So it turned into my eating disorder of eating a lot and being a chocolate addict back then. It turned into eating a lot but throw up every single time when you have the feeling you eat too much. And then I started watching videos of skinny people with eating disorders and stuff like that. Like, I started feeding the addiction which was obviously not good. And it really got me into an eating disorder, which lasted for about 1.5 years, bulimia. And the way how I got out of that, you can see in my other video, and I'll post the link down below. But the bottom line of this story is that you don't have to be ashamed of who you are, what you did, and what you want to become. I really had to tell myself, like, stop hiding behind yourself. Like, take off that mask. Like, who do you think you are? Why do you really think that you're going to live a happy life if you hide yourself behind a mask? That's what I told myself. And I realized that I was lying to myself, and that I was pretending that I would be able to do that while lying against myself. Well, I can tell you, I've proven myself wrong. I've proven myself wrong hardcore. I wasn't able to be happy to hide myself behind a mask and to pretend that I was okay. And people from the outside could see it, obviously. Like, oh, I've become bigger and bigger and bigger. Like, my graduation of my diploma of my high school, I was pretty big. Like, I don't like looking at those pictures, and I maybe have like 5 pictures of them. But at the same time, I had to go through that in order to be where I am today. And everything, all those things happen for a reason. And I hope that my reason is that I can help some of you to realize that beauty is on the inside and it's not on the outside. And if you want to shine through, if you want to break out of your body and you want to become that light that's inside of you, that you believe in, and that little voice in the back of your head, you can do it. I'm not going to lie, like I said earlier, it's not easy, but I know that you can do it. And you have to learn how to love yourself. And in the process of writing things down, working on yourself constantly, without denying who you are and without denying the mistakes that you made, just forgive yourself. Oh man, it's a whole new level of freedom. I can tell you that. If you can break free out of those things that happen to you, if they're fair or not, because I mean, there are a lot of things that happen to me that I would like to talk things through with people, but those people are simply not in anywhere near me to talk about it. I had to find peace in my own head with who I am, what I want to do, what I want to become, my dreams, my goals, everything. And I can tell you, at least from my experiences, that it's really worth it. It's not worth it to hide yourself behind the fear, or maybe because you're lazy. Like, obviously, if you have the feeling that you don't need to get out of it, and you truly feel that in your whole core, then leave it the way how it is. But if you have the feeling, that voice in the back of your head that's saying, there's more out there for me, and I know that I will be able to do it if I had this and if I had that, start with yourself. Try to provide the things that you can provide for yourself by writing about things, thinking about things, writing them down. Make a video diary for yourself, or like an audio diary even, so that things start to make sense in your head, and then you can move on with your life, and then you can get the life that you deserve, because I know you deserve it. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope that I was able to help some of you with this video. I'm sorry if it became a little bit of a rambling video, but I'm very passionate about it, because I went through many ups and downs myself, especially with my weight. And where I am today, I wish that for all of you, because you deserve it. I want to give you a big hug and good luck on your journey. Feel free to private message me if you like. It might take a while before I answer, because I get so many messages, but I always read everything and eventually I get through them. So if you want to share your story, don't be ashamed, and please open up to me, because there has to be some person in this planet that you can open up to without getting judged by, if you're afraid of it, right? So let it be me. I've been through it, and I wish the same for all of you. a big hug. And I hope to hear from you soon. Bye, guys.